always like to get a little fired up before I record. Just give me a little noise. So I love that. Well, welcome everybody back to my 32 fan series. If this is the first episode that you are going to watch, I am talking to one fan from every single 32 of these lovely NFL teams. And we're just going to have a conversation. And so for me, it's also super important for me that people know this is our first time collaborating, connecting, having conversation, because I feel like we don't talk enough as human beings anymore. So I always just like to call it out that even as a grown woman, I'm still connecting and like having conversation with people. So there's that. And then the other thing is all of your information I will put in the show notes in the description. So if anybody wants to see it, click on learn more about you, watch more of your videos, they can do that. So without further ado, I would love for you to just introduce yourself, let us know anything you want us to know, and then specifically how long you've been a Titans fan and how are you feeling about this team?
All right. Well, my name's Alex. I go by Mr. Titan. Mr. Titan is the channel name. No, it's not something I thought too hard on. Everyone's like, "How'd you come up with?" I'm like, I literally was like, "There's a bunch of good Titans content." I'm like, "Well, I'll just Mr. Titans. Nice and simple. It's easy to remember." And
Yeah.
you know, something about me that I've been a diehard Titans fan since them moving to Nashville from Houston in '97 and stuff, and it's just been a blast to kind of um, pick a team because
Yeah.
coming from Miami, my parents, my dad was a diehard Dolphins fan. Been watching Marino since I was little, and don't get me wrong, Dolphins are good.
Okay.
They're cool. I like it, but I kind of growing up and getting older, I wanted my own identity. I wanted my own thing, and I was like, you know what? The Titans came out. They had the blue. I'm a sucker for running backs, and I saw Eddie George, Steve McNair, and I was like, you know what? I like the blue. It goes good with anything. I'm like, I think I'm gonna stick with this team. Long and behold, they went to the Super Bowl that year, broke my heart, and I've been a fan ever since. And the heartaches of being a Titans fan, I don't know if a lot of people could understand the pain and suffering, but
Yeah.
eventually when they get to the promised land and then they hold the Lombardi, it'll be all worth it. But yeah,
Yeah.
so here I
I
am.
love it. You would be surprised to know. This is my third year doing this, and there's always a color reason. Like usually people are like, yeah, and then it was either between like an orange and a green, and I chose the green. And it's like it's usually comes down to being that simple. So I love that. I always say some people choose perfectly, and some people are like, yeah, and now I'm a Browns fan, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah, well,
good
yeah,
for
yeah.
you.
I'm kind of like where it's funny that you say like the color thing because a lot of younger kids, I've seen that they usually follow just a player. Oh, I
Yep.
like Metcalf. Oh, I like Mahomes. They're not really Chiefs fans, but they just like the
Right.
player. And then eventually you're like, okay, once you get older, you're like, okay, now we kind of have to choose, And usually
Yeah.
they go by the team that's has good success and or is in the Super Bowl
Winning.
they see, like I said, and I fell in love with the running back position. I think it's my favorite. It's the most exciting position to me, other
Okay.
than QB. And Eddie George was, I mean, he was my hero. I mean, he was everything. I mean, growing up, I was like, man, Eddie George, Eddie George. And then to finally get a chance to interview Eddie George was probably like the highlight
That's
of
awesome.
like my little YouTube career or whatnot. Because again, this is something I tell people all the time. I'm like, this is not a job. This is something I do because I'm passionate about talking about the Titans and interviewing players and
Yeah.
doing little segments and collabing and making content. And I think that's the fun part is trying to make something that hasn't been done before and try to
Yeah.
put your own spin on it. And there it is.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
yeah.
So, how did you feel with the draft? Like, what would one word be for you to describe your team's draft class this year?
All right. Well, before anything, we had,
Okay.
the Titans aren't good. Okay, they weren't a
Okay.
good team. Okay, it's just it's the truth. Some people
Okay.
don't like to hear it. Everyone's the Titans weren't good team last year. They were terrible. I mean, that's why we had the pick we had.
Yeah.
But going into it, I think everything going with the new logo, the new stadium being built, the new uniforms, new head coach.
Okay.
I think they're starting to get their identity because they lost it to the time being. They did have their identity when they had a Derrick Henry, when they had Ryan Tannehill. You knew what type of football team you were getting with
Yeah.
Titans. And they kind of, like I said, things happen. Players leave, they lose their identity and the coaching and all that stuff. But overall, I think, like I said, going back to getting Robert Saleh, defensive minded coach, getting his second, staying at being a coach, coming from the Jets where he wasn't very too successful. You can't be like, oh yeah, I'm excited, but I see where his vision is at, and hopefully the second time around he gets it.
That's
And
fair.
the draft was really interesting because
If you like the content that you're getting, don't forget to hit that like button. Leave us a comment in the comment section below, and I'll let you get back to your video.
there was so many opportunities where we could have gone different, especially the being the fourth pick. And I think they got what they needed for the time being. And I tell people this all the time because the draft, it's not it's a lot, it's literally a lottery. Everyone's like, oh, you get their first round pick. Doesn't mean just because it's first round pick doesn't mean that he's gonna shine, doesn't mean that he's gonna succeed. You want that, you hope that player does. But to also, as a general manager, to kind of build for your future as well, getting depth is very important. And I think overall, I think the Tennessee Titans did a mix of everything. They have a lot of holes, so they can't cover everything. The draft doesn't plug in everything from one team. You're like, okay, we got everyone for the draft. No, it doesn't work like that. So I think for the time being, I think until I see them on the the field and start hitting pads, it seemed like a solid draft for the Titans.
What word would you give it? What word would you associate with the draft?
If I had to pick a word, I would pick relentless. I think some of the players that they've gotten are, and what Robert Saleh has been saying in the press conference, what he wants the team to be is relentless. He wants them to be aggressive. And I think there's a few players that they picked up in the draft. I mean, you look at Anthony Hill is one person.
Yeah. Shout out to Anthony Hill.
Disgusting player.
My guy.
I mean, you see a linebacker in the class, and you're like, that's the type of player you want on the team. And so that's what I see in the draft. So
is there a day one, or is there a day two or day three pick that you think is going to end up being a steal? Like you just loved that they ended up getting him where they got him.
Well, we ended up getting, again, I'm a sucker for a running back. Nick Singleton from Penn State is gonna be a stud. I can't wait. When we picked him up, I was like, let's go. I understand we have Tony Pollard. I know we have Tajay Spears, but Tajay Spears, unfortunately, has the injury bug. He's always, he shows out maybe in preseason, then he gets hurt. And there is enough. I think we have like 3 or 4 running backs right now on the roster, but I can definitely see Nick being, definitely in that mix, and I'm excited because that guy can play. So
I love it. Who's the one player from the draft class you think is going to make the biggest impact?
The biggest impact?
The biggest immediate impact.
It's like you want to say, our first round pick, right? You want to say,
yeah, you do.
The wide receiver, game picked up, number 4, Carnell Tate, wide receiver. I know that a lot of people were saying that, he wasn't the number 1 guy coming from his team in Ohio State. And, and I understand that, but what?
That's fair.
It happens.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And there's sometimes, there's some players that have a really, really, really mediocre career in college and do very well in NFL, and vice versa. And there's some that were like, hey, this guy is it. And then all of a sudden you're like, you see him in the NFL, like, what the hell's happening? So
yeah, what happened?
Yeah, that's exactly. True. So I mean, he's gonna have a lot of pressure on him, but he has a Cam Ward, he has a Calvin Ridley to help him out, veteran in the wide receiver group. So I'm excited to see. And like I said, I hope that he turns out what the Titans need him to be. And that's the guy I hope has the biggest splash.
Okay, that's fair. Is there any player your team passed on that, like, multiple times, or at any time that you were just like, oh my gosh, go get him, please. Like he needs to be a part of this team.
Well, there's a few, especially being number 4, right?
Yeah.
You have, those top draft picks that you look at and you're like, well, why didn't we get him, or like a Reese, a Bain, and then those are one of those that you go like, well, this could be either we look back and be like, damn, he was right there the whole time, a Bain, a Reese, and we kind of passed up on him. And I hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
I really don't, because again, the Titans have a tendency of doing that. I mean, it happened. I mean, I'm going back, but I mean, we picked up Kevin Dyson, which is a wide receiver, and and Randy Moss was right there.
Right there. Yeah.
So, but then you never know what kind of career,
yeah,
Randy Moss might have had with the Titans compared to the stellar career he had with Minnesota. So it could have been defining moment, so. So we'll see. Like I said, those are a few of them that is kind of like, damn, like I hate playing that game. I hate, being like, well, he was right there and now we picked them, because it's easy to say it now, like once it happened, but hopefully the Titans got the right pick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully everybody's good, and then it won't even matter. You'll be like, yeah, everybody was great, like, so it didn't even matter.
Yeah,
it just worked.
Yeah. The problem is when it doesn't work, and you're like, damn.
Yeah, then you're kind of looking around like we could have had that. So yeah, I totally understand that. So I know that you mentioned the Titans aren't very good, but they're working on it. So having said that, what is success going to look like for you all this year?
I have the bars right here, and my expectations are very low. So I had it last year. People freaked out on me because, again, people tend to be kind of blinded by their own team. It happens all the time. I get it. I'm a little bit more of a realist, and I kind of call it out, and people tend not to like it sometimes. And I said last year that we are maybe possible a 3 or 4 game win. Like that's what we're gonna win with 4 games. Maybe that's the ceiling for the Tennessee Titans for right now. As the draft came along, the players we had, the coaching again. And people freaked out. They're like, what? We're like, I think we're gonna be like 8, we're gonna win 9 games. And I'm like, where are you seeing this? Like, what is happening here? Again, I'm going with, it's a new coach, new system, new offensive coordinator, new players. I'm gonna go with, hopefully, I would like to see maybe 5 games, at least get that stride, get past the 3 game, which is very low and it's very pathetic. But sometimes you have to start small, okay? And I think if the Titans can get maybe 5 wins and show some growth, show some progression as players and as a team unity, I think in the future might be good. But yeah.
Listen, I appreciate your honesty. Sometimes teams come up here, they won like 3 games last year, and they're like, I think we can get to 9. And I'm like, oh, no,
that's a very unrealistic jump. Okay. And then you know what it is? People also do, they are going, well, the Patriots were, they won 3 games and then they were in the Super Bowl, or the Bengals or that. And I understand, but it's a rare case, and it doesn't happen all the time. Like the same thing happened with the Commanders a couple of years back, where they were terrible. Then all of a sudden, and they were good. But I don't. Not that it can't happen. It just, the chances of it happening is very low.
Yeah, it's like what people say. It is probable. Is it possible? Yes. But is it probable? No. So that's kind of okay. Which position group worries you the most at this point? Like, where do you feel like you all are the weakest at?
Offensive line.
Okay.
Yeah. Offensive line. We have a couple of new people that they picked for the left guard. I know that right guard is still kind of available. I know we did pick up 2 people from the draft. You had, Fernando Carmona is a guard from Arkansas, and then you had Pat Coogan, which is a center, which is nice. But
from Indiana?
Yep, from Indiana, and those are nice pieces. And our general manager did say that they will be competing, and like I said, they were a little bit lower draft picks. He said they are going to be competing for a starting spot just because of the amount of college games they played, the reps and stuff like that, which is cool. But that always concerns me because
Rookies.
yeah, rookies, you want to help Cam Ward out, right? If Cam Ward is the guy for Tennessee, which everyone says he is, then you got the first thing you have to do is keep him, standing up. You can't. And I know a lot of people were upset because they wanted Jeremiah Love, and oh man,
He
the
wasn't there
Cardinals.
though.
Yeah, he wasn't there at all, and not even that, but like, how are you gonna help the run game if you don't have an offensive line? Like, so I understand that they got a wide receiver, and that's a nice little weapon for Cam Ward, and they're setting Cam Ward up for success for weapons. But you still gotta block for him. You gotta have people that are gonna help him out. So that's the only one where I'm like, they're gonna be playing around throughout training camp, plugging players in to see who fits the best. And then, I mean, there might be players that once the 53-man roster comes in, so a player that's been cut from another team might come in. So that's where I'm hoping. That's why I'm like,
solidify that line. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, so I'm okay with it as of right now, but you need to address it. You can't just like sweep it on the rug because it's going to bite you in the ass later on.
Yeah,
and
facts.
I mean, so.
Okay. So where is this team improved the most from last season when you look at them? Okay.
Defense. Again, Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach, and they went ham. They went ham on defense. They picked up the defensive tackle from the Broncos to help Jeffrey Simmons. They got some linebackers, got some safeties, some nickels. So the defense was for sure something they addressed very. They went for it. I think this will be obviously a more defensive style team. They're switching from a 3-4 to a 4-3. They're bringing a bunch of defensive tackles. It's a nice little change, and I think he'll be aggressive with the defensive play and calling, because last year the Tennessee Titans were terrible at hitting the quarterback. The quarterback had all the time in the world to throw something. That's terrible. And you obviously know it starts off with the defensive front. If they can't get to the quarterback, it puts more pressure on the linebackers, puts more pressures on the safeties, and then it's just a hot mess. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that's what that's their improvement. So.
Okay, that's fair. And then, okay, this might be hard for you, but I think you can come up with something. What is something that you think the Titans will do better than most teams in the NFL?
Oh,
and if you need to take this negatively, some people
sometimes I think the Titans, and hopefully it doesn't happen. It happened last year a lot, where I think they were the only NFL team that didn't score a touchdown on their opening drive. And I think that might continue. Yeah, unfortunately. So they might do that good still. I mean,
okay. Fair. That is fair. I respect that answer. So thanks. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is like a little bit of a fun round, and you just give me your quick answer, what you think. Although this first one I want to, because it's about quarterback confidence. It's on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being the least, 5 being stay forever here, please. How are you all feeling about Cam Ward? What do you think about Cam Ward? Where are you on the scale of 1 to 5 for Cam Ward?
I'm at a 3. I'm in the middle.
Okay.
I like what I see with Cam Ward. Again, it's hard to really judge a QB with the offensive line he's got, with the weapons. I mean, he was throwing to
the no weapons.
Yeah, exactly. He was throwing to no one. I could have been out there and he was throwing, so like it's hard to, put that on him. Now there's certain things that he's done, when he is Cam Ward, where he is running with his with the ball and making a play with his feet, and also using his he has that down pat. Now I don't know if the Titans want him to do that every single play, which I probably not, but it's something where I give it where I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna give him a few passes just because now he does have the best wide receiver core the Tennessee Titans had since AJ Brown, and that's saying a lot. I mean,
Yeah. God, how long ago was that? How long ago was AJ Brown
2000
on the Titans?
21, 22 or something. Oh, yeah. That was
That was a
yeah. It was.
yeah.
It was
A lot of people, to be honest, a lot of people don't even know that he originally came from the Titans because a lot of people just know him as an Eagles
yeah.
receiver, which is actually interesting. Yeah. Shout out to AJ Brown. Hey, he might make another trip around the sun. No, you never know.
No, he won't be coming over here. I trust me. He's not. And not that I don't want him. I understand. Like at one point, the Tennessee Titans had a Julio Jones, D Hop. They had AJ Brown, and they had a Derrick Henry on the team. Like, just think about that. Like that, and they couldn't make it work. So
and when I used to watch the Titans a lot, they used to have Kenny Britt. And God, I can't think of the other person. That was a long time ago.
Kenny Britt. Yeah, he's
long time ago. Like that was back like when I used to play fantasy, and I not onto that anymore.
Yeah, but that team you had, a shout out you're a Steelers fan. They had Nate Washington.
Yeah.
So you had Nate Washington. You had Kenny Britt. It was a
like I said, a solid little team.
Yeah, it wasn't
solid.
Bad.
And they had Chris. Was it Chris Johnson was the running back?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, I just know it was kind of one of those teams that I would watch because like Vince Young went there too at some point. Yeah. So it was like I would keep an eye out on, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, they had moments where they were exciting. Like, don't get me wrong, they had Bo Scaife again. Shout out to another.
They did.
So like, you had all these players and stuff, and they just couldn't make it work.
Yeah, and you guys have Gunnar Helm. At tight end, right? And do you still have Tavondre Sweat?
No, he's with the Jets.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
He
okay.
He wasn't going to fit the Robert Saleh.
The new scheme.
Yeah, the new scheme, which I understand. And he had a couple of issues with, I think, weight and just
Tavondre.
Just personal reasons. But, I met him a bunch of times. I met him when they played the Houston Texans. I actually went, and he super nice guy, super cool. Like he really is a really nice person. It just unfortunately sometimes it doesn't work for the team, So
I love it. Okay, so on a scale from 1 to 5, what is your coaching staff trust level?
I would say 0 because I don't know. It's just their offensive coordinator's new. Is coming in from the Giants. You have, Robert Saleh again. His, like I told you before, like the second stink. Like, is he gonna pick up the pieces? His record as an NFL coach, it wasn't very pretty. So, do you go off of that, or do you go off of hopefully what he learned, what his mistakes he made as a head coach, and hopefully he can bring in Tennessee and change things around. So, coaching staff, like I said, I would be a 0 just because it's fair. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I hope it's a 4. I hope it's a 5, but
absolutely. That's fair. Okay. Who do you think is going to carry the team this year? Your offense or your defense?
Defense.
Okay. Love that.
Defense keep us in the game. Offense just needs to make a couple plays and they need to score touchdowns. They can't settle for field goals, unfortunately, even though the Super Bowl, I mean, look at the perfect example, right? For the longest, Super Bowl went into the second or third quarter with just field goals until.
I feel like it was probably after halftime. Yeah, because I feel like at one point I was like, "Is this really?"
I was like,
is this where we're at?
Yeah. Damn.
Woo! What a great game. That's awesome.
I
was like, go teams. So if you could trade drafts with any other team, they could get all of your draft picks, and then you get all of their draft picks. Who would you trade with? Just clean swap.
I don't know. I you know what? I thought you were gonna say just like one draft pick, and I was gonna go with just the Arizona Cardinals. I'm like, we would have.
You're gonna take Love.
Yeah, it would have gotten just Love, and it would have been good. But for draft, I would have to. I don't know, because I out of the AFC South, I think the Houston Texans did very well, even though I hate to admit it. They drafted very well, and we did as well. Now the Colts and Jags, honestly speaking, I don't think they drafted too great.
Yeah, it was just
yeah. So
okay.
I don't know. That's
But for sure, it would be whatever you could do to get love.
yeah. Just that one spot, just that one spot.
That's fair, and that's fair. Maybe if you just add him to your draft class, send away somebody else, and then it's perfect.
Like I said, I'm a sucker for the running back position, and when they had talked that they were all in on Jeremiah Love, I was like, oh, don't get your hopes up. Don't get your. Then I heard the talks of like Arizona. I'm like, Arizona's just gonna pick them. Just think about that. Arizona's just gonna pick them, and it happened. I mean, Tennessee, as you can say whatever you want with the Tennessee Titans organization, but what they're good at picking running backs, and we have two running backs that went over 2,000 yards: Derrick Henry and Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
You have Eddie George, so you had Derrick Henry. I mean, the list goes on solid running backs. I think Jeremiah Love would have been a nice little fit, but it is what it is.
Would have been a nice little legacy carry on this running back dynasty that we.
I have a Mount Rushmore shirt, and it has Earl Campbell, Chris Johnson, Eddie George, and Derrick Henry. It's cool.
Shout out to Earl Campbell. Anytime his name is mentioned, I get excited. I'm like, oh, Earl. I love it. Okay. So if your team had a this always happens moment, like where you're like, of course, we're the Titans. Like, here we go again. What is that moment for you?
Every game. There's always
every single play.
Every single game. There's always like, oh God, why do I do this to myself? There's a bunch of things I could say. There could have been, so for the longest, the Tennessee Titans and the NFL draft, the draft picks were it was bad. We had I think our draft class, I'm going to get this wrong, but it's either 2023 draft class. They are no longer, there's not one single, none of them are on the team anymore. I think it's
that's not great.
That's terrible.
That's not what we want. That's not what we want.
Like, you do not want, let me see. No, I think it was 22, because even though Will Levis is still on the team barely. Yep, it was the 2022 where they had Treylon Burks, which they got for AJ Brown, McCreary, Malik Willis. No, it's fine. So every single person from the 2022 draft is no longer on the Tennessee Titans, which is bonkers. We messed up on the first round picks. Treylon Burks, it was a first round pick. And then in 2021, oh my God, Isaiah Wilson, offensive player, offensive guard from Georgia, failed completely. He played like 2 games, and so it's like you get those, and that's you. That's
it. Just sets you back.
Yeah, it really does.
It just sets you back. Yeah, no matter what happens, it honestly doesn't matter, because you're not getting enough players to like sustain what you're trying to do. Okay, so that's fair.
So that would be my there's the Titans. Like, hey, the Titans.
Here we go.
Traded AJ Brown on the draft. Like, what are we doing? God, that was such a terrible day.
Yeah. Okay. If you could this is the last question. If you could send a message to the team owner or the team GM, who would you send a message to, and what would you say?
I would send it to the president.
Okay.
And I would tell him to answer my damn Zoom call, my answer, because I've been trying to get him on my show to talk to him, and he's every time I see him, it's Burke Ninehill. He always says yes, I'll get in contact, and then I have nothing. So that would be my thing. It's kind of a selfish, answer, but that's what I would do.
Okay, cool. You don't want to talk to the GM at all?
Mike Bergonzi, you know what? I think if that was the case, Bergonzi, he knows football. I like his vision. He's super smart. No, I think we're in good hands. You
Okay.
know, again, the Tennessee Titans with having fired their previous GM. I mean, Rand Carthon, and then having John Robinson and just things just not. So it's just been messy from the very top all the way down. So it's just
Yeah.
like
Okay. Fair.
you know. So, but yeah, I wouldn't mind having him on either.
Awesome. Well, that's all I have for you. Is there anything you want me to know about the Titans or anything you wanted to talk about on this on this conversation or just anything that we should know being a fan of football and just watching you all?
That we probably won't get any primetime games. It happens. They do play the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm hoping they play them here in Dallas. So hopefully that one, fingers crossed, that it's either a Sunday night game or they'll probably give us a Thursday night game. But you know what? I'll take that.
Oh gosh.
I'd rather take that than nothing because you know it's been the last time they played. They played here. I have the little terrible towel because we actually won
Game day.
Yeah, it was in 2022.
Oh, okay.
It was a Monday night game in Jerry's World where we won. So I mean, I would hopefully get another primetime game, but you know what? That's one of those we can go back to that same question where like, of course, it's a Titans. So it's like, oh, there's no. And if we do have a what's it called game, it's usually an away game. It's never in Tennessee, which I understand. Yeah. And hopefully that will change with the new stadium. If you haven't checked out the new stadium, it looks wild. It looks really, really cool. It's
the NFL will want to show that off at some point. So
exactly. So
when that's ready, they'll do.
Year.
Yeah, they'll do at least one prime time so that they can show off all the things.
all the other teams fans in the stands, because that's usually what happens when you go to a Titans game. Is that, I mean, hey, here's the thing for all the listeners. This is perfect because this is great. So Nashville is such a great little town, you know, like I love going to Nashville. I go a couple of times a year to watch a game, especially for away teams, you know, because they got Broadway right there. They got a bunch of bars. There's a strip of like at least 30 to 40 bars. It's a cool vibe. Everyone has like rooftop bars, country music, and then you get to go to a Titans game and feel like you're at a home game, especially like Steelers fans, like these people that, you know, really, really like to travel, like Patriots, Bengals. I mean, it's kind of sad as a Titans fan to see your stadium just get taken every single Sunday, you know?
Yeah.
But
hey, maybe that is changing. Maybe that will be changing. New coach, we're moving in a different direction. So next year I'll talk to you and you're going to be like, we won 6 games. I think we might like.
And then we'd be like, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl now.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I appreciate you chatting with me and agreeing to do this and just responding and saying yes. And so for everybody, if you missed it at the beginning, all of your information will be in the description. I will also do the little thing where we can like collaborate it or whatever. So it will share on both of our channels so that if you choose to accept it, it will show on both of our channels so that will be there as well. But seriously, just thank you. I appreciate you taking the time and, you know, being so open about your team and being honest because some people aren't. But we'll end with you. Anything you want to say, and then whenever you're done, I'll hit the end button.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for having me on, for even deciding to get me on. I do appreciate it. I love collaborating with people. And you're very on point with things. That's another thing. It's nice to see from the other side is, you know, someone who has the questions listed, has the time, has everything, like the setup. So I do appreciate that. That's awesome. That shows, you know, that you're prepared, and it kind of it separates you from the millions of people doing this. So
thank you so much.
Gotta give you props for that, and just want to say thank you, and hopefully, I know we don't play the Steelers, you know, thank God, this year. That's one of those games, man. You know, Steelers. Oh.
Here we come.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a new look Steelers, so who knows? You just never know. You just never know. I mean, but I'll be honest. If we respectfully, if we have to worry about playing teams like the Titans, then we have a bigger issue. So
Absolutely, you are correct. You are
so
correct.
as of right now, though, because there was a time where that was it, like
They
the
were solid.
Titans.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a time. So, anyways, I appreciate you, and we'll find a reason to do this again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know where to get me.
Yeah, awesome.